Okay, so I had the multiply divide node selected, and I need to drive the forearm 1 with the input 2, x. And the input 2x needs to tell this forearm 1 joint to move 1/3 the amount of the wrist joint rotation. So all I have to do is select the multiply divide node and go in here in the channel box and edit this input 2x value, and I'm going to change that to a 0.33. And then this next one is going to control the second forearm joint, and it needs to rotate 2/3 as much as the forearm does. So I'm going to do that, set that to 0.66. Now you can tweak these values later on and get a more realistic deformation on your forearm. But, so right now, if I rotate the wrist, nothing is happening to these forearms because I haven't connected it yet. But, if we look, if I select the forearm multiply divide node and go to my attribute editor, I lied. It's not going to show it to me. Okay. So the only way we can really see what's going to happen is if we go ahead and connect it up. And then I'll explain what I was about to explain. So if I shift, middle mouse click on the forearm multiply divide node and drag to the forearm 1 joint node, I can go to the output section, and this output X needs to be connected to the rotate Y of the forearm 1 joint. Okay. And then do the same thing, except I'm going to connect it to connect the multiply divide node to the forearm 2 joint. This time I'm using output Y, the output Y, connecting it to the rotate X of the forearm 2 joint. Okay, so now here's what's going on in my inputs outputs editor. So you can just read through this and take a look at it. So if I rotate this, I lied. So the rotate, I'm rotating the cube, but I'm not rotating the joint. That's my problem. So if I press up on my keyboard to select the wrist joint and rotate that in Y, then you see that these other joints rotate the portion of what the wrist does. And so what's nice about that is it takes care of that portion of the animation for the animator. But you can still rotate the wrist and the other axes without affecting the forearm. Now you can see that it is affecting the forearm a little bit, and that's because I'm not using gimbal mode. If I was using gimbal mode, then it would not affect the forearm at all. It would only affect the forearm if I was rotating X. So that's how you set up a helper joint with the multiply divide node. Now you could also use helper joints and use constraints to, to force them to stay in between two other joints, kind of in a void. So like the shoulder blade, probably a good place to use constraining to get it to stay where you want it to. Here we were able to use the hierarchy of the joints themselves to make them stay where we want them to stay. So I can move the forearm can move wherever it needs to, and it's going to keep all its information. It's still going to rotate appropriately. Okay. So that'll be it. That's it for how to hook up helper joints, or one method of hooking up helper joints.